Otters! Today we are starting with the suspect list that Daisy and Hazel had created. So, 1. Miss Alston, motive unknown. But we suspect that she has some sort of secret history which Mr. Curtis knew about. Opportunity was at the tea table at the crucial time. Could have stolen the poison from the hall. Notes. Was seen being threatened by Mr. Curtis outside the maze by Daisy Wells and Hazel Wong. Who is she really, and what is she doing here? We know that her letters of reference are false. Then we've got Aunt Saskia, and everything's been crossed out. Then Uncle Felix, motive, rage at Mr. Curtis over Lady Hastings. He was heard in the maze threatening Mr. Curtis by Daisy Wells and Hazel Wong. Opportunity, was at the tea table at the crucial time. Could have stolen the poison from the hall. Notes. We know he's lied about Mr. Curtis's cause of death. Why? 4. Lady Hastings. Motive, jealousy. Opportunity. Was at the tea table at the crucial time. Could have stolen the poison from the hall. Notes. Seen shouting at Mr. Curtis on Saturday morning and telling him to leave Fallingford. Seen handing Mr. Curtis's cup to him at Saturday's tea. The return of the teacup proves to the Detective Society that Lord Hastings is not the murderer, but we will need more concrete evidence to convince the police. Chapman appears to be covering for him for some reason. Was seen after the second crime at the turn of the stairs, in the right place at the right time. And then there's Bertie, and he's been crossed out, Stephen, and he's been crossed out, and Lady Hastings. Chapter 4. I left them to it and went to the bathroom to get a drink. And there was someone on the landing. A dark shape was lurking in the shadows next to the window at the front of the house. My heart stumbled, and I gasped, backing away towards the nursery door. I wanted to scream, but just as in my nightmares, I couldn't make any sound at all. The murderer was here, and was about to catch me alone. The shape shook itself loose of the shadows and came creeping towards me. Hazel, said Stephen's quiet voice. Hazel, stop. It's me. My voice came back with a gasp. What are you doing there? I said. I thought you were... Terribly sorry, said Stephen. I didn't mean to upset you. I only wanted to find a place to think. Trying to quieten my heart, I went to stand next to him at the window. It's a lovely round one, like a porthole in the sky, and ivy wiggles across it like thin fingers. You can see the drive and some of the monkey puzzle tree. Outside, it had finally stopped raining, and there was a thin glaze of moonlight over everything that made the monkey puzzle look as if it had been cut out with scissors. Are you all right? Stephen asked me quietly. Yes, I whispered back. I suppose so. Are you? Sometimes I don't feel as if I shall ever be right again, said Stephen. I wanted to say that this was exactly what I had been feeling too, without being able to explain it. I wish this was all over, I said miserably. I wish it had never begun, said Stephen, scowling. He rested his forehead against the window pane and shivered. When he leaned back again, his hair was damp and sticking up, and there was a little drop of water curling down his cheek. My father killed himself, he said quietly. Did you know that? This weekend. It's brought it all back. It feels like it only happened yesterday. It feels like it's still happening. I didn't know what to say. I stared out at the tree and noticed that it made angles in the shadow on the drive, that I could see every single funny leaf. I feel like that sometimes too, I said at last. Last year, a mistress at our school died, and I found her. I touched her. It wasn't very nice. Daisy thinks I should forget about it, but I can't somehow. It was Stephen's turn to nod. I'm sorry about your father, I said. Thank you. Listen, Hazel, you mustn't worry. What I mean to say is you're quite safe. Bertie and we won't let anything happen to the four of you. I can promise that. He paused, and I paused too, looking at him. Everything seemed frozen until a little gust of wind shook the panes in front of us and made us start. And the police are coming, I said. Inspector Priestley will help us. I hoped I was right. It was only after I was back in the nursery that I realised I had forgotten to get a drink. Daisy, Kitty and Beanie were still talking, so I sat up in bed and began to write in this casebook. When there was a knock on the nursery door, I nearly jumped out of my skin, but it was only Mrs. Doherty coming up with our dinner. It was eggs and soldiers again, and a jam roly-poly. We must be very close indeed to solving the crime now, but all the same, I'm still not sure how this is a case that the Detective Society ought to solve. There seems to be something lying just out of reach, waiting for us. Part 6. The Detective Society solves the case. On Monday morning, I woke up with a jolt and found that I was still clinging to this casebook, and that my pencil had got loose and gone in scribbling snail trails across my bedsheets. Daisy was shaking my arm, and in my ear the house's pipes were singing and shaking the bed as someone ran about in the nursery bathroom. "Hazel," Daisy was saying. "Hazel, Hazel, Hazel, wake up!" "I'm awake," I said. "Ow!" "Hazel, a miracle has happened. Miss Alston is taking a bath." I couldn't quite see how this was a miracle. Miss Alston was not a particularly dirty person. "Hazel, don't be slow. What don't people take into bathrooms, even if they carry them everywhere else? What is liable to get all steamed up and unpleasant if it sits next to a hot bath?" I suddenly saw what she was getting at. "A handbag!" "Indeed, Watson, indeed." We beamed at each other. "Up! We must work quickly," said Daisy. Kitty, I want you standing outside the bathroom, listening for movement. Beanie, you can stand guard just outside Miss Alston's room to whisper to us if Kitty gives the alarm. And Hazel, you come into the room with me." "But I want—" Kitty began. "No arguing," cried Daisy. "I am the Detective Society president, and in this case you must respect my authority, because I know what I'm talking about, and I solved a real murder case last year. With Hazel. All right, are you ready?" Kitty and Beanie nodded, although Kitty's nod was slightly reluctant. "Excellent," said Daisy. "Ready, Watson?" "Ready," I said, and we crept out of the nursery doorway onto the upstairs landing. The noise from the pipes stopped as Kitty positioned herself outside the bathroom, and Beanie stood nervously just outside Miss Alston's door. Daisy and I gave the Detective Society handshake once, for luck, and then Daisy pushed open Miss Alston's door. We were inside again. The bed was made, the drawers were closed, and Miss Alston's brown handbag was sitting plumply on her pillow. "Watson," hissed Daisy, eyes shining. "I knew we'd get to it in the end. I knew it!" She leaped towards it like a cat. "Careful," I said. "You'll spill it. She mustn't know we've been here." Said Daisy. "There's no time for that." In one movement, she spun the handbag upside down, and everything inside it tumbled out across the covers. It was as though Miss Alston had pinched her bag from Mary Poppins. Out came ruled paper and notebooks, and biscuits and maps, and set squares and a compass, and a bar of Fry's chocolate, and a packet of pins and a needle and thread, and something flat and spiky, made of silver that glinted up at us. "What's that?" I whispered. And "What's this?" hissed Daisy, and she picked it up and peered at it. Then she dropped it as though it had burned her. "Hazel," she said, "you won't believe this. Look!" I looked. The silver thing was a badge, small enough to fit in the palm of my hand. It had a little silver crest on the top. "Metropolitan Police," it read. "But how did she get this?" I asked. "It's a police badge." "Do you think she stole it?" asked Daisy. "Gosh, what if she's actually a criminal, just like Mr. Curtis was? Oh, we've got evidence at last. Miss Alston stole from a police officer. Ha! And here, under all that, are the papers that I do believe will finally incriminate her." Out of the bottom of the bag, with a flourish, she pulled a crumpled letter. "It's from the police," cried Daisy. "Look at that official letterhead, and it says—" I bent over her and read. "Oh," I said. Daisy and I stared at each other in utter shock. Okay, we will read a little bit more tomorrow. Hope you are all staying safe and healthy and getting on with all of your work. I'm looking forward to reading all your hunted stories over the next few days. Remember, you can email me if you have any questions. See you tomorrow.